Welcome in, everybody, to Betting Pros. It's time to place your bets. It is me, Joe Pisapia, and it's week 18. Things are going to get weird. And I mean, because we've got Scott Bogman and, of course, Andrew Erickson here. We're going to break down the games for you about our favorite sides, our favorite frieds, all kinds of fun things, because I can't talk today. But we're going to talk about all of that as much as I can possibly get out of my mouth. And we're going to break down the games for you. Lots of moving parts, obviously, not just between these teeth, but also the moving parts in some of these games. Lots of guys are sitting. Some games are very important. Some teams have things to play for. Others have nothing to play for. So it's going to have a wacky impact, and the lines continue to move. But thank goodness we have these two fellas. And I'm sure that Andrew Erickson will find an under he likes. And I'm sure Bogman will have a pick that he regrets, because that's how things have gone here for the last week or so. So before we get after it, just a reminder, make sure you drop your comments below, subscribe to the channel, ring the bell till it goes ding. You might just win yourself a 1-year free premium upgrade to Betting Pros. And don't forget, every Wednesday, every Friday, NBA Fast Break Bets with Matt Modi, the best in the biz, breaking down the NBA slate for you live right here, 11 a.m. Eastern, right here on the channel. Join us. Ring the bell. That's how you get the NBA action here over at Betting Pros. Gentlemen, let's kick things off. Scott Bogman, I know it's been a tough start to the year for you with your Texas Longhorns falling a little short, but that's okay. We're going to make it better for you in Week 18. So let's start here on the good foot. What do you have for the people?
Yeah, look, the cooler has arrived. All right, I'm here. I'm ready to tell you guys what to fade.
What's the other cooler company? Coleman. You're the Coleman of Betting Pros last week.
The Yeti? Yeah.
Yeah. With the hair, maybe that's the better one.
I'm going to take the Raiders by 2.5 versus Denver. This one's pretty easy to me. The Broncos don't have anything to play for. They're eliminated. But I'll give them credit. They beat up LA last week. But if Devontae Adams is right, and the whole Raiders locker room wants Antonio Pierce to have this head coach role permanently, they're going to have to play very hard. And I'm not saying the Broncos aren't going to be trying hard. Of course they will be. But I think we're going to get the Raiders' best effort. And the Raiders' best effort has been winning them games under Antonio Pierce. They're 4-4. So this game, if they want it, will push Antonio Pierce to 5-4, have a winning record, and have his resume look good going into the offseason for a team that is looking for a head coach. So I think the locker room likes Antonio Pierce. I think they're going to rally up and play for him in this game. It's at home for them as well. So I think it's going to be a close game because Denver has been playing some good football recently, and they have a chance to be an over 500 team as well here if they win. So divisional game, you're going to get both teams' best effort most likely. So, but I like the Raiders in this game. I like them playing with some heart.
Makes a lot of sense to me. I'm on Zamir White for this game. I know Jacobs is a game time decision, but that typically does not go well. It's the last game of the year. Why would you risk it? Any of your health situations there going into the offseason if you're Jacobs. So going against Denver, give me all the Zamir White overs. I'm sure that'll pop up tomorrow on the show, I'm guessing. But Andrew Erickson, I don't want to take any assumptions when it comes to your picks. So let's start here with your favorite picks for Week 18. What do you have?
Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. I'm not falling for this Colts-Texans flipping of who's favored in this game. We've talked about this on the show, and I've fallen victim to it twice, betting on the Colts early in the week just for them to not be favored anymore by the time the lines close. So did I miss out on some Texans +1, +2? Yes, I did. But at the end of the day, you got to be right with these bets. You can get as much closing line value as you want, but if the bets don't come through, then what are you really winning? A bunch of closing line value trophies that don't help you whatsoever.
Damn.
So for me, I'm going with the Houston Texans here, -1 against the Indianapolis Colts. Again, the Colts are a team that this year has been a team that you want to bet on when they're favorites, not when they are underdogs. And even though the Texans also have not been one of these teams that's been really good as a favorite per se, it's just a matchup on, I want to bet on CJ Stroud. But yes, he's playing on the road. But I still prefer him in this matchup against the Colts. We've seen their defense be very bad at times against the run, against the pass. And something I was looking at that's really interesting is the last 11 games the Colts have played, the favorites have won those games. So I want to back the Texans here because they're favorited. So I'm following the market. I'm chasing this team. I don't have any closing line value, but I'm going to be right at the end of the day, and that's what I care about.
That's right. It is tough because it is a road game. And I think that's what always keeps giving me pause. I've struggled with this one. I keep going back and forth. I want to put my faith in CJ Stroud, but then I also am saying to myself, well, how many times have we said on this show, Erickson, that the Texans are the Vegas darling and they've been overrated in the market, and am I falling into that trap? So I feel either way, I feel like I'm damned if I do, damned if I don't. So I'm going to stay away from this game and just bet props because I don't know what to make of it at this point. To me, it's a complete crapshoot, but I like your chutzpah, as they say. I think that's a very good start here to the show. Let's go back to you, Boggs. You're in on something that I'm in on already, and I bet this one early. Talked about on the Look Ahead show. If you missed that, go back and watch that. Fitz, myself, and Sam were breaking that down earlier in the week. But you're talking about the Giants and the 5.5 against the Philadelphia Eagles, who, let's just say they've been on the struggle bus in the last month.
Screw the Eagles. They let me down last week. I'm against them now.
So this is a revenge bet? Is that what this is?
You know what? It kind of is, but I'm going to take the Giants plus 5.5. The Eagles have already clinched. They haven't covered in 5 straight games. Tyrod had the Giants playing a little better. They covered the last 2 weeks in a row. Divisional game. Sirianni has said resting starters is, quote, in consideration. The Eagles' last cover was against the Bills at the end of November. The Giants have covered, like I said, the last 2 weeks, and albeit with a much larger line, one of those games was against the Eagles. I think the Eagles are going to rest some starters in here. Just give me the Giants. The Eagles are on a fade. I think they're probably going to be a first-round bounce in the playoffs as well. They've been playing terrible, and a lot of Sirianni hate going around in Eagles forums right now. So
they were saying they haven't won a game since Sirianni kind of lost his mind in the tunnel there, talking trash. So
you hate to see it.
Well, it's funny. We had Joe Lisi on early, my good pal over at Sports Grid. He came on the show early in the year. And was it Joe Lisi or Joe Ranieri? It was someone named Joe. Do you remember, Erickson? Who was just trouncing the Eagles?
I think it was Ranieri.
I think it was Ranieri who did it. Yeah, it was Joe Ranieri who did it. Also from Sports Grid, also my friend, also an Elite Joe. We have a meeting every other Wednesday. And
meeting
Joe,
of the Joes.
Your elitist group.
It's a very elitist group. But I'm the only bald guy of all that group. The rest of them have great hair.
Some people call them average. I don't know why. So
you'd be wrong.
Average Joes, nothing.
No, I got you.
So dad joke just for you.
It was a good dad joke. Actually, Dodgeball was on the other day. I was watching part of it. But at any rate,
get to the point.
At any rate, he was the first person who really kind of hammered home the Eagles. And that's another point of, if you go back and you track the losers of the Super Bowl, every year without fail, with I think it was 2 exceptions. I think it was the Russell Wilson year and the Tom Brady year, and he's the exception to every rule when it comes to the NFL. Typically, those teams fall apart at some point. And I think it's a really interesting study. If you go back and look at them, it's very rare that you see a team lose a Super Bowl in a rough fashion and they bounce back the next year and have a good run. Sometimes they don't even make the playoffs. It's been a really interesting little study there. It's just something that what happens next year, you're going to see these odds come out. Whoever lost the Super Bowl is probably going to be, second or third on that list. Don't necessarily jump into that basket right away because the data does not support it. All right, Erickson, who does the data support week 18?
The Saints and Falcons being an underwhelming game for maybe a shot at the NFC South if the Buccaneers just completely lay an egg against the Carolina Panthers, because that's what the stakes are. Like, both these teams are going to play their heart outs because they have a chance to win the NFC South if the Buccaneers end up falling to the Carolina Panthers on the road. So the Panthers and Buccaneers played it tight when these teams first met. So it's interesting. We'll see. I honestly would not be surprised if the Falcons win this game outright, but I cannot put actual money in real life on the Falcons and Arthur Smith to do anything right except not score points. So that's why I like the under at 42.5. I think it's just a very high number. Saints are 2-5 towards the over at home this season. They've averaged 41 points per game at home between the two teams. So I'm trying to figure out where this 42.5 number is coming from. The last 10 games the Saints have played against NFC South opponents, basically against teams that they're familiar with, all unders. So the teams themselves average 40 points per game. So again, I look up like, where is this 42.5 number coming from? Are we expecting Arthur Smith to use his best weapons? Is that what we're expecting to happen? Are we expecting Derek Carr to deliver in crunch time? No. So for me, this is an easy underplay, even though it's in a dome. I think maybe that's why it's the numbers coming from, because it's in a dome. But these teams play in domes all year long, and it doesn't matter. They can't score points. So under 42.5 on two of the most overrated and honestly disappointing teams this NFL season.
The NFC South, once again, disappointing no matter what. And why couldn't Tampa just handle business last week? Oh, Tampa.
Here's a question interesting.
I guess. That's the most frustrating part.
Because I picked them. That's why.
But I picked them too, and I spent all week talking about Baker Mayfield, talking to Mike Evans, talking about Rashad White, what a great season it's been for them. And here we go. you're in a spot where you're in the driver's seat and then you crash the car. A question: Black Monday, is Arthur Smith gone? Andrew Erickson? No. Boggs?
I think so.
Arthur
Blank
lose,
is getting,
Dennis Allen is gone. That's what I'll say. He's
yes,
gone because they're going to lose.
Sure.
I would not be surprised if they lose this game outright. The Falcons win. The Saints blow it. Dennis Allen's been the worst coach against the spread the last 2 years. Horrible.
Dennis Allen is not a good coach. And yeah, I think he's definitely gone. I think, look, Arthur Blank is getting old and he wants his team to win. So I honestly, I think that's going to be part of the determining factor. If they can get a real offensive guru in there, I think he might do it. They need a new quarterback, obviously. That's not helping Arthur Smith.
That's the biggest thing. You need a quarterback. I don't know how teams look around and they say, yeah, you know what, this is going to work out for us. This is a good situation.
Yeah, Desmond Ritter's definitely going to be great. And if not, we have the worst graded quarterback last season in Taylor Heineke. So great.
Right. We don't want Jacoby Brissett, who sat out there forever, or if you put any of those, like he's Brissett, Taylor, like some of these guys that have just been around the league for a long time, I don't know why these guys don't get more opportunities in these scenarios. Every year it drives me crazy. I don't get it. But anyway, Boggs.
We got to see what Jaron Hall has. So
we got to evaluate that. Let's make sure we do that. Let's go to you, Boggs. Back to you for another pick here for Week 18. Number 3 is on the board. What is it?
Yeah, I'm going to take Detroit minus 3.5 versus Minnesota. Should be a fun game, and I like the over here as well, but is there a more inspired team to go out and beat the tar out of an opponent like the Lions? I mean, obviously getting hosed last week at the end of the game, a game that they needed too, has just made them mad. And Aiden Hutchinson has been talking about the springboarding them, and Ed Ingram and Brian O'Neill on the offensive line are banged up for the Vikings as well. And the biggest thing here is Dan Campbell said, we are going to use our full arsenal to go out here and win this game. So, like I said, I like Detroit laying the points. I like the over in this game as well with Nick Mullins in there. Nick Mullins provides points to both teams, which is the best part about him, is he will turn the ball over in the red zone with some terrible interceptions, and he will make some big time throws that Justin Jefferson will, go up and get and make. He'll get the ball to Jordan Addison as well. So I like Detroit minus the points a little bit more. It's 3.5, but I like the over in this game as well.
Yeah, makes sense to me, Box. Really does. And Dan Campbell deserves a lot of credit. I know we made a lot of jokes over the years about Dan Campbell's style and presentation. Bite kneecaps is worthy of making fun of. I think it is. But you know what? At the end of the day, he has chiseled out this team out of granite, and it's a good football team. It has its deficits. I don't know how they're going to do in the playoffs. I think we're all kind of curious to see how they perform there. But what they've done here, turning around an organization that has had so much disappointment and so much losing for so long, it's been a great job. And credit to Jared Goff.
When was the last time the Lions and the Browns were in the playoffs at the same time?
Oh God. It seems like my childhood. I would think I can't even imagine them both at the same time in the 90s. Because
Lions,
there were years
Browns,
where there was that 1 year, 2 year window where
yeah.
Barry Sanders was so good and then they were really good in the Lions stuff. But then I'm trying to think of when the Browns were good. You got to go back to
it's before the Ravens existed.
Well, it was
we know that.
Belichick,
they have the bye here.
Belichick got them in the playoffs, right? So that was what, 93, 94, somewhere in that
I
vein.
was 10.
I have to look at
Erickson probably wasn't born. Yeah.
Erickson, you were not born in 93. No. All right. Well, let's move on because that's upsetting me. Let's go to the next pick on the board here for Week 18. Erickson, what do you have?
Going to the Browns-Bengals game, and I love the over here at 37.5 points because the Browns are playing on the road, and that means one thing, over. Last 8 road games the Browns have played have gone over the total points. So, again, I don't care who they're playing on defense. I don't care if they're playing backups. It doesn't matter to me because this team doesn't play defense on the road. So, with backups in, I'm not expecting them to play better defense. They're probably going to play worse on defense. And we've heard from the Bengals team that, yes, they're not playing for anything, but they want to end the season on a high note with Jake Browning making his final start before Joe Burrow comes back next year. Jamar Chase has been vocal. I'm going to play in this game. I don't care. I'm playing in this game. Looking at the Bengals and their trends heading into this contest, 7 of the last 8 games they've played have gone over the total. 8 of their last 11 games have hit the over. 9 of the last 10 games have all gone over 41.5 total points. So I was so surprised. I kind of handicapped this game, and then I looked at the total. I was like, it's 37.5? And I ended up seeing money come in on the Bengals when it was announced that we were going to get Jeff Driscoll, it's also a revenge game for Mr. Driscoll
Oh,
facing
Lord,
his
the
old
Jeff
team.
Driscoll revenge game. I mean, this is a new low for us.
I mean,
we're pretty
I just
low
think it's going to be
sometimes, but
points.
this is really
He's
bad.
a scrambling quarterback. He can make plays with his legs. So again, I'm expecting a lot from the Bengals side of things. I actually like the Bengals team total a lot because the total is so low. So Bengals will score like 22.5 points. You can get that a pretty good number. But I like the overall in this game at 37.5.
Speaking of the Browns and Lions, that conversation, Boggs, I nailed it. 1994, the last year they were both in, as the Belichick year, and when we still had Barry Sanders being Barry Sanders. So it's scary sometimes what lives in this brain.
Was that Scott Mitchell?
Yes.
Was he the quarterback?
Yes, it was Scott Mitchell. It was look, man, if you never saw Barry Sanders play, go watch the highlights, man. It was special times. You want to talk about yards after contact? It's like yards after contact, 5 yards in the backfield, and then he would run for another 45 after.
The best Barry Sanders stat would probably be yards after almost getting contacted.
Right. I want to say the Browns 94, we're talking Testaverde. Like, it's post Bernie Kosar.
Wow.
It's probably Testaverde at that point, too, I would imagine. So, good times, crazy times. As you said, pre-Ravens. There you go. All right, Boggs, back to you with another pick for Week 18. What do you have?
I'm going to take the over in Chicago versus Green Bay. It's 43.5. Way back in week 1, this game scored 58 points. The Packers are getting healthier on offense. Reed and Watson are back at practice. And the Packers have played to the over in 6 weeks straight. The Bears put up 420 yards against Cardinals 2 weeks ago, 432 on the Falcons last week. The Packers have to win this game, but after all the misery the Bears have been put through by the Packers, you are absolutely going to see the Bears' best effort in this game to try to bounce the Packers out of the playoffs. I don't know who wins, but I do think there's going to be some scoring in this game. Green Bay's been playing miserable on defense as well, so give me the over 43.5 in Green Bay versus Chicago. No crazy weather either. I looked for that, so we're not getting like in Pittsburgh and Baltimore. We're going to get the wintry mix.
I love a good wintry
cold
mix
and all that stuff.
It's one of my favorite cocktails. A good wintry mix.
Nothing bad in this game from what I saw.
There was a split decision on Tuesday's show. Pat is hiding his head in the sand and bet the Bears because he is, I guess,
he's
a self-loathing Packer fan. But so is Sam, and Sam has the utmost confidence in the Packers to win. You are staying away from the size, as you just said. Erickson, do you have a lean on this game?
Yeah, Bears are going to win. Bears money line. That's
no hesitation.
That's my best bet. That's
Zero
my
chill.
Bet. Bears
I love
money line, because the Green Bay Packers are a horrible team when they're favored. 3-3 overall, 33 against the spread as a favorite this season. So when everyone's expecting Green Bay to go out and win, they don't win. They lose. They don't deliver. Whereas the Bears, and we just look at underdogs just performing against the Packers and just in general in Packers games, 6 of the Packers' last 7 games, the underdogs have won outright. So if you're giving me a 3-point spread with Chicago against the Packers, I mean, the Chicago team has been excellent since Justin Fields came back from his injury.
Yeah, they have.
5-0-1 against the spread in Justin Fields' last 6 starts. They've been delivering every single week. The defense is playing significantly better. Justin Fields is playing significantly better. So why am I so confident that a Packers team that by every metric you look at is just like 17th, 16th, average at best in every single metric, why do I expect them to just go out and just dominate and beat a Bears team that I think is arguably playing just as well? So for me, I think that, yes, the Packers can get into the playoffs with a big win. They were in this spot last year. What do? They laid an egg against the Detroit Lions, against the rival team. What are they going to do again this year? Lay an egg against the Chicago Bears. So I'm going with the Bears.
I love it. And that is your official pick, by the way, too. I didn't even realize that. I kind of led you in just because I was curious. And look at where curiosity got me. Finally, somewhere good for a change. Erickson, great stuff there on this game. Question for you, follow-up. Is Justin Fields the guy going forward in Chicago, you think?
Man, I feel like I think about this like way too much for someone
Yes,
to know.
yes,
Here's a question for you. What do you think about more, this or the Roman Empire? Like that's the new question. I'm not following this TikTok crap. My fiance's tried to rope me into it before about the Roman Empire. I don't know. They made the aqueducts. I mean, it's an amazing system.
But when it comes to Justin Fields, I think it really depends. I think the Bears can really look at it I think it really depends on what they can get for him. If they feel like they can get enough of a haul for him, I think it does make sense to trade him.
And what can they get for the number 1 too? If they can get something better than what they got from Carolina,
exactly.
Might want to take it and stick with Fields.
If they don't get a price that's what they think is worthy of Justin Fields, then they should keep him. Like,
so tough though, but then you're just starting over again with a new quarterback and a rookie quarterback, and you got to groom them, and it just seems, I don't know, man. It just seems like you're just always in development hell. It's like having a project at Netflix that never gets off the ground.
It's also a scenario too where you could see if they end up trading him, it could end up being like a win-win. Like, it's not to say, because there's a scenario where Fields can just have more success.
Every move the Bears do is a win-win. So.
That's true. Their track record is so good at making these decisions.
There's a scenario where Fields goes to a team and is just better than he would be off in Chicago. And
for
Bears
sure.
are better off.
Oh,
just
I think that might be the case. I'm not worried about Fields. I'm worried about the Bears making the wrong decision and setting themselves back again. And as you said, since Fields has come back, things have gotten better. Defense has played well. He's played well. Maybe Roshan next year takes the ball, runs with it literally, and all of a sudden the Bears are in a good position there. Have a good draft. You got the top. Like, you give him DJ Moore and Marvin Harrison Jr. That's a good start. Last time I checked. All right. One more for the boys before we close things out here. Boggs, this is my least favorite game of the weekend, so let's talk about it.
I'm going to take the Patriots -1.5. Here is my analysis. They won't let Bill Belichick lose this game. There you go.
I think he's going to. I keep telling Erickson, I told him this last week, I said, this is the Lion King circle of life moment where you go out with a whimper. You go out at home with a loss to the Jets and they say, see ya, Bill. Like, I can't think of a better / worse way to end the run of Bill Belichick in New England. And being a Patriots fan, it makes me sad at the same time as it does make me pleased for the future. But I mean, it is rough, dude.
Well, they can't hold him out of the Ring of Honor forever like they did with Jimmy Johnson in Dallas because Bill Belichick's already old. So,
that's true.
We can't have animosity here. Look, I just think Belichick is going to want to leave with a win. I don't think it's going to be hard to coach up against the Jets with whoever the quarterback is here.
Who is it today? Like, I know
it doesn't matter. It's Simeon. It's going to be Simeon again.
Still, yes, okay.
I think the defense wins this game for the Patriots. I think it's low scoring. I do think it's going to be gross, but I think Belichick goes out a winner. So give me the Pats -1.5 against the Jets. The history of this rivalry with Bill Belichick has not been good for the Jets. So give me the Pats one last time to beat the Jets before Belichick is on his way out.
There you go. Where is Bill Belichick next year? Scott Bogman. Is he Washington?
New Orleans.
New Orleans. Interesting.
Chargers are a good one, but I feel like every coach is going to want the Chargers job.
Does every organization want Bill Belichick? That, I think, is the bigger question.
No, but one that's dumb enough to have Dennis Allen right now probably does. So
Touche. All right, let's go on to your last pick. This is a big game. This is the one we're all waiting for, Erickson. Sunday Night Football, so let's get after it.
I'm going with the Buffalo Bills, -3, and I really don't think this is going to be close. I think that this is actually giving not enough respect to the Buffalo Bills, who have been, I just think, a team that kind of like the opposite of the Eagles, where the Eagles' record was, oh my God, like they're so good, but it's like they're really not that good, whereas the Bills are the opposite, and it's like their record's not good, but all indications are they're way better than their actual record shows at 10-6. Talked about them being one of the most unlucky teams, even in that game against the Eagles. Like they got really unlucky. They should have won that game outright, but they lost in overtime. And that was the one game that the Eagles covered that Boggs had mentioned in that analysis of the Eagles and Giants game. So for me, look, the Dolphins, MO all year, can't beat good teams. Every single week, they can't beat the good teams. The one team they beat was Dallas on the road. Who's arguably not a good team when they don't play in Dallas, and they won on a last-second field goal. So for me, I get that the spread is this way because the Dolphins are playing at home where they theoretically play better, but when you look at all the opponents that they've played one playoff team at home, and that was Dallas. Every other team they've played at home when they've put up big numbers and put up big points has been a sub-500 team. So they're playing the Buffalo Bills, who have already destroyed the Miami Dolphins this year. We saw the Miami Dolphins get destroyed last week by the Ravens because they're a good team. And I think that's just going to continue here. Just looking at the way that Miami's has not been able to show up as an underdog this season, 25% against the spread, 1-3 overall. So I'm taking the Bills, and I think that they dominate this game and roll into the playoffs with some momentum.
I agree. I'm on the Bills. You too, Boggs?
Well, look, I think one thing you guys are absolutely forgetting about here is Steelers devil magic. Like when Jacksonville has no chance to beat Indy, and then they beat Indy, right? Or Indy has no chance to beat Jacksonville, and they beat Jacksonville.
Yeah, I remember it.
I can't remember what it was a couple years ago, but the Steelers need the Dolphins to win this game. So I think they got to beat Baltimore first on Saturday. So if that doesn't happen, then it doesn't matter. And yes, the Bills cruise to a victory. But Steelers devil magic to sneak into the playoffs under Mike Tomlin, so I can watch them lose by 70 to the Dolphins the next week, is what we're gonna see here. So it somehow, for no logical reason at all, Josh Allen's going to throw the ball downfield and it's going to be picked, or there's going to be some stupid fumble, and the Steelers are going to sneak into the playoffs, to every single non-Steelers fan's aggravation, to have to see them in the playoffs one more time to get whooped by 30 by the Dolphins in Miami the following week. So I think that's the thing that you're forgetting here, Erickson. Obviously, it's the Steelers devil magic.
You're way too into the weeds with the Steelers devil magic stuff.
It's been a rough fall and winter
right.
for Boggs between the Steelers and the Diamondbacks falling short, and then Texas.
But look, I just know how I can get the most disappointment out of this team, and it's by making the playoffs and then getting trounced in the first round.
I'm sure it's not. I think just losing to the Ravens and Tyler Huntley is probably the most disappointing way, actually, to lose the season.
No, it's not. It's to get me excited for another week and then to be absolutely destroyed for 3 hours on television. That's the worst way to go out to me. So
I can't wait for the I told you so next week on it. I'm looking forward to it when it all does happen. I'm here for it. Now, next week's schedule is a little different. We will have the look ahead show again, as we have the last few weeks, even with the holidays. And next week, we're going to have a special reviewing the playoff games, our favorite props and our favorite sides of those games, the lines, the overs, the unders, and everything in between. So we'll just be doing that one show next week too. So make sure you ring the bell for notifications so you don't miss those shows. So you're in with us, hanging out with us here, the Betting Bros over at Betting Pros. Just to recap what everyone's in on. Erickson's in on the Bills at -3, the Bears money line, the Cincy Cleveland Battle of Ohio over 37.5, the under 42.5, and Atlanta New Orleans. Boggs is in, and the Texans -1. Don't forget the Texans. Boggs is in on the New England Patriots -1.5. The over in Green Bay, Chicago, Detroit 3.5 versus Minnesota, the Giants +5.5 versus Philly, and Las Vegas Raiders -2.5 versus the Denver Broncos. Drop your picks in the YouTube comments. I want to hear from you. What are you in on in Week 18? You just might win yourself a free premium upgrade for 1 year of Betting Pros. Download the app. If you have iOS, you get 3 free days of premium. That sounds pretty good to me. Use the tools. Don't be a tool. Do smart things. Use the app. And that's it. That'll do it for us. Happy New Year, everybody. But the story of the game goes on for Erickson and Bogman. I'm Joey P. We'll see you next time, kids.